Welcome to the Own Your Best Life podcast. I'm May Emson, your host, leadership and mindset coach. Here, we talk all things spiritual, mindset, business, leadership, and wellness for the modern seeker who wants to align their life with purpose and inspiration. We'll cover career changes, stress management, meditation, energy, intuition, and more. Each episode holds spiritual and practical tools to help you live a life of your wildest dreams without getting burnt out along the way. Ready to live a life on your own terms? This is the Own Your Best Life podcast. Welcome, friends, to episode number 69 of the Own Your Best Life podcast. If you've ever gone away on a trip and felt that just as you were beginning to relax, it was time to go home, then you're probably thinking about, or you've thought about, taking a longer trip. And maybe you take 1 week here, maybe you take 1 week there, maybe you take 2 weeks away, but you want to take more. And no matter where you are in this spectrum of getaways, you know that there's something pretty special about taking time for you, for your well-being, for your health, and for those around you. And if you want to take a 4-week trip and you're not sure how to do it, listen in to today's podcast, because we're going to talk about how to do it, what to prepare, and most importantly, why it matters. So our decision to go away for 4 weeks as a family started, as most things do, from another plan that didn't go as expected. We have been going to Montauk, New York every year since our second daughter was born, and it was a relatively easy drive for us. There was no flying involved. We loved having time with the family, and it wasn't too far away. We would have Jay's parents come and join us, and it became this really fun trip that we took as a family every summer. And we would go away for a week, but as the years passed, we began to wonder what it would feel like to get away for 2 weeks. What I found is that usually a few days in is when I would start to actually feel the layers of the life I was living and the work I was doing begin to fall away. And as that occurred, as that realization happened again and again, we began to talk about this idea of maybe doing longer trips, maybe 2 weeks. And we've done a little bit longer trips when we went to Singapore and Australia, just because of the time difference, because of the travel. We were going for my brother's wedding, so we knew that we needed some extra time also, because it wasn't all going to be spent actually on a trip. We were going to be in transit for a lot of that time. So taking 2 weeks over the summer was just something that we started thinking about. But last summer, COVID was very much present and a new thing in our lives, and it brought a big disruption to travel with it. So taking 2 weeks away over the summer wasn't what we wanted to do, but we knew it was still something we want to do at some point. So I put it in my goals and visioning process as a way to not forget. And so it came time to planning this summer's trip. It was front and center in my mind, and we were committed to taking these 2 weeks away. As we started looking at Montauk, the high summer prices began to have us thinking about alternatives. We didn't want to spend that much money for 2 weeks, yet if we were to spend that much money, maybe we'd be able to do 4 weeks or a month somewhere else. Often, we get so fixated on that one place we have to go that we forget that the world is big and there are so many places to go. We ended up deciding on Tulum because we had just gone there right before the pandemic began, and the whole family had a blast. They loved the food, the weather, the nature, people, the place. And after a quick Airbnb search, it showed us that there were lots of options across the whole spectrum in terms of prices. So Tulum had become this mecca for those that didn't want the hustle and bustle of Cancun or Playa del Carmen. It had grown in terms of development, though, since I first visited it over 10 years ago, which is why there were now so many options for being able to stay there. And we had only ever stayed at the beachfront hotels because in the past we had gone for shorter periods of times. I had gone there for several retreats. So when we began looking at Airbnbs in Tulum, this was very new for us. And while ideally it was amazing to stay in a beachfront Airbnb, there were few to no options there. So we chose to stay in one that was in the town of Tulum, which was approximately a 10-minute drive from the beach. It's called Aldea Zama. It's this family-friendly development area with a lot more development on its way. So I have some mixed feelings about the growth of Tulum, about travel sometimes in general. And while this has made the area a lot more easy to live in, it's also changed it from this very quiet town to one that has a lot more going on and is easier to live in terms of Wi-Fi and access. So either way, staying there for 4 weeks was still this new experience and one that we were willing to try out. If you're listening from Europe, it's a common practice there to take a month off, yet in the US and many other countries, it seems ludicrous. There is such a working culture here that even parental leave is a challenge for many of us. And one of the main reasons I wanted to try going away for longer was because I like the idea of creating the life we want to live now. And I have a practice of creating big goals that sometimes seem unachievable or unrealistic. If you had asked me a year ago how we were going to do 4 weeks away, I would have said, well, that seems crazy, or I have no idea how that would happen. Yet, and this is what I coach people on, it's not about the how. It's about this, who would you become along the way of someone who takes this kind of trip? Is that appealing? And if it is, then you go after it. Then you figure out the how. But start first with the why and the what it is that you want. And being specific, I knew at least 2 to 3 weeks was a vacation we wanted to take. We added on the other 2 weeks so that we could spend longer time there and work as well. So I've been a pretty pragmatic person my entire life. Yet some of the times I felt most alive were when I was traveling with the people I loved. And one of the main things I've learned through coaching myself and through coaching others that I absolutely love is this idea of creating a life that you actually love, that you wouldn't want to escape from. So this trip, while it is amazing and so important, wasn't the end all be all. And that's one of the reasons why it also happened. I didn't want to wait until retirement to travel or do things in a way that felt aligned with my values. And it's one of the reasons that I try to focus on living as much as possible in this present moment, not waiting for that next moment to be what I want it to be. So I wasn't stressed about taking the 2 weeks off or the 4 weeks off. It was just something that I knew would be a great experiment with life. It was going to happen at some point. And this is how most things turn out, even better than you expect. You just let life show you an opportunity and you live it out. The opportunity was that we're in this remote work environment where we could work from home. I don't know what it's going to be like next year, but right now this plan worked. We could take 2 weeks off for the first 2 weeks of the trip, and then we could do a remote working situation for the remainder of our 4 weeks. It helps to have a great location where you could walk to restaurants, where you can have transportation or a car, Wi-Fi, extremely important. And if you don't check into that Wi-Fi situation explicitly, working remotely could be really challenging. We also wanted a pool because it is hot in Tulum. So we're not right next to the beach. We want to have access to a pool to swim in, to cool off in, and for the girls to play in because they love pools. So if you're going to plan something like this, think about what would make it a positive working situation in terms of what do you need. If you need Wi-Fi, check into the Wi-Fi explicitly. Read the reviews on the Wi-Fi. Ask the host questions about exactly what you need to make this work. Also, another way to prepare is to actually have the intention that you're not going to know everything before you get there. We often get in the way of ourselves in terms of not having a good trip. I know so many people who sometimes say that they, in the process of planning the trip or thinking about the trip or going on the trip, they've created a lot of stress for themselves so that they feel all this anxiety about even thinking about what to do to get ready for the trip, or even while they're on the trip, all the things that aren't happening or could be happening, instead of actually enjoying it. I truly, truly believe that you can have a life and a trip where you are actually loving every single moment. I know that sometimes that might sound impossible, but it is completely true because I live it and this is what I teach. You can transform the way things show up for you when you start to know that life is going to present for you the unexpected, and you have an expectation that it is working out for you no matter what is happening. So we didn't rent a car until we got there, because we weren't sure where we should rent a car from or what the situation was like in terms of proximity to restaurants, stores, or beaches, or the ability to access things, whether it's on foot or on bike. Many times we want to know every single thing before we make a decision. And if we don't make a decision, or we try to find out as much as possible. We did all the Googling, we looked as much as we can, we read the reviews, and we just made a decision and we went with it. In the past, I probably could have been a lot more stressed about, we don't have a car, how are we going to, we're just going to show up there and then not have any way to get around. We should at least rent a car and do all of that and not just wing it. But I do think that it is a beautiful experience of letting go when you can have parts of a trip a little bit more open-ended than what you might have done in the past. So that's just an example. I don't think if I wasn't self-coaching myself constantly and receiving coaching that I would have even attempted something like this in the first place, because in the past, I would have wanted to control everything. And then if I attempted something like this, I would have been really fixated on these little things like what the kids are experiencing or what Jay is experiencing, or am I doing this or that? And it's really a return to that childlike part of ourselves. I know that so many of us have had the experience when we were kids of being completely in the moment, of playing, of enjoying the thing, even if they didn't know everything. And for sure, we didn't know everything. Letting ourselves have experiences where we are like a child again creates a play-like quality when you're actually trying to play. And so let's not underestimate the value of play in our lives, of just having this expectation that things are good and fun and you've created this magical thing for yourself, even if you don't control it all. So we didn't have to know all the places we were going to go to or stay at, but we did book 4 weeks at one place to have a place to stay at. So another question I received was, how did I do this with my work, with Jay's work? So both Jay and I work, and our girls are old enough to play with each other well. So we created some schedules for them in terms of things that they could do. There were different activities that we had kind of set up for them in the place we were staying at. We also knew that there was babysitting available if we needed it. So again, this is another test and learn experience. We both have invested lots of time and energy into our work, whether it's our corporate jobs or my coaching business. So we felt good about taking that break. I think part of us doesn't think that we can take that much time off because we don't think we'll be viewed as capable or dedicated. But what I learned the hard way is that there's never going to be enough work that proves to us internally that we're capable and worthy. So I had that hesitation and fear that many have when taking time off and letting others know. But what I've realized is that it doesn't serve us. And what that hesitation and fear is showing us is that we don't believe that time off is important or that we can prioritize our personal lives in this way. I remember many years ago, before kids, taking some time off. Jay and I loved to travel. That's how we met. We met studying abroad. So we inherently had this belief that the world was this big, beautiful place, that there was so much in it that was of value to see and to be a part of. And we did a lot of backpacking together. And so even after we got married, we continued to travel quite a bit. And I remember once my mom asking me, I was on the phone with her, and she was like, "Aren't you worried that someone's going to take your job when you leave on a trip?" And I said, "Absolutely not." And I realized that that's a luxury. And with an immigrant mentality, some of you may resonate with this, working hard is not an option because there are so many other people who can replace you. There is also a sense sometimes that you have to work harder or more than the average person because you're not from here. Or you have to work harder and more than the average person because that's what it takes to actually succeed in life. And I do have an incredible drive and ability to work. Yet, I also knew from firsthand experience that some of the most important things that I've experienced in my life were when I actually took some time away. And some of the times when I have thought that things in life just went by and I took no notice was when I was working all the time. So this is a big point to make, and I want you to pay close attention, especially if you consider yourself someone who overworks. No one is going to tell you to take 4 weeks away. You might even have people telling you not to. Your coach, if it's me, might challenge you to do something that feels this expansive, but your job's not going to tell you to take 4 weeks away. Your clients won't. These are the things that we think back later and say, this was a life decision I made that I really remember. You will not remember all of those random meetings or the emails you took care of, or the little things you got done. But I know that in the moment right now, they seem the most pressing. So we have to use our brain for our own good in this way. In our very short-term thinking, that's the fight or flight telling us, hurry, get those urgent things done, do it right now. But it might not be the most important thing. So I urge you to use your more evolved prefrontal cortex, lean into thinking about life decisions that you will look back and say, that was a great thing that I did. And taking time for yourself often might be one of those things that fall in that category. My belief is that time away matters because I matter. You can borrow my belief. It's not me in this ego-driven sense, but my capacity to deliver and my capacity to serve in integrity and without resentment comes from me living in alignment to what I want to pursue in my life. So sometimes the 4 weeks away don't make any sense. And that's okay. It's not that you need to take 4 weeks off. It's more the idea of seeing why you resist taking time, especially if it's something that you want. It matters to take some time away, even if it's not 4 weeks, because that's time for you to unplug from what everyone is telling you has to be done and should be done. And you start living for yourself. So this 4 weeks away wasn't just doing what we normally do in another place for 4 weeks. I spent that time really focusing on the intention of being present, of letting go of my personal ideals of exactly what has to be done, my personal preferences of exactly how things have to go, and letting the reality of life determine where I was going. This is no small feat, but something that has allowed me to come out of this experience with not just a lot more awareness, but with real tangible results in my life. So, for example, I still delivered on big work commitments. I still made sales. I still kept my body healthy and whole. I also got to spend an unbelievable amount of dedicated time with my family. We saw the girls develop in their independence and in their spirit. We let them do a lot more on their own. And we actually found that their capacity to internalize and be aware of their emotions and their actions and their thoughts grew by leaps and bounds. So I'm a big fan of discipline. I'm a big fan of values, but I'm also a big fan of questioning how we're living. So undoing some of that structure of how we do everything was one of the ways that the 4 weeks became so meaningful. We packed a minimal amount of things, not because we couldn't pack more, but because we knew that when you completely overpack, you tend to feel after the fact that it was this waste. So we wanted to leave a little bit of space in our lives for some things that might have to be either purchased or procured, and let that be okay. Again, this is a testament to living with a little bit less, or knowing that things are okay if you don't have every single thing with you. But it also creates space for you to create anew. If you brought every single thing with you, all the baggage, literally and figuratively, you would not have any space to actually undo any structures. You would try to recreate every single thing into this new place. And the beauty of going away is to actually let go and say, maybe there's another way of living. I still did things that I knew served me. I exercised every day. I ate well, but I didn't eat everything that I normally eat. The exercises look a lot more different. The way that we were as a family, of course, we try to keep some of the routines that we had, but at the same time, we also flexed a lot on things that had just to be flexed, and let that not be the thing. So again, don't let the structure of the thing you're doing become the whole thing itself. Let the structure lead you to some freedom, and know when to undo some of that structure, and ask yourself, am I resisting what is actually happening and what is present by trying to replicate everything from my life before I came on this trip? And if you feel that resistance, ask yourself, is it helping you or not? And then that tells you if you're becoming that person that is actually able to receive the benefits of this trip, or this person that is unwilling to let go and therefore is holding on to a lot more of the stress. So remember that. And I think that alone can change your experience, no matter how short or long of a trip that you are on. All in all, we would definitely do something like this again. A while back, again, before kids, Jay and I took 7 weeks off and we traveled, and it was amazing and so interesting. A completely different experience that we would love to do again with the kids. So, of course, I'm going to just let reality and the reality of the present moment show me where this is possible, but I will hold it as a part of the life that I want to live. So your job, if you so choose to accept this job, is to hold the things that you desire as part of the life that you want to live, to hold space for them. If you're thinking about doing it, I would highly recommend it. And I would highly recommend finding a place where this makes sense to you. But you don't have to abandon everything in your life. You don't have to make this hard. We held space for it by creating this idea that it will work out at some point when it makes sense, but it doesn't have to happen. I would highly recommend, if finances are something you're thinking about, find a place where the cost of living makes sense for you, so that you're not feeling restricted in being able to make this work. Again, this is an investment into your own quality of life. So even if you're putting in extra time or money into this trip, I'm going to ask you whether or not this is one of the ways where you want to spend your time and money. What is the point of having time and money if you didn't spend it the way that you want to spend your time and money? That is one of the definitions and criteria for happiness that was found in a study, which is how people spend their time. The ability for you to spend your free time doing the things that you want to do. Of course, that correlates to having time and having free time. Understand that creating the space for you to even have the time might even be the first breakthrough, whether it is 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 4 weeks, it does not matter. Start where you are with what seems possible for you and then expand it just a bit more. The second step is then to say, when I'm doing it, when I'm going away, is this a place that I want to be? Am I choosing to do things where I feel like these are the kinds of things that I would love to do? That's the second way to really have that feeling of time be one where we really get to live into it instead of time controlling us. I made a decision many years ago to value experiences over things. It was a very explicit decision. I remember even writing it down, the order of priority. To live as a spiritual achiever, this trip was the epitome of that. So I was blending work, life, family, and so much joy and some risk into my experience. I was able to see how amazing life is when we let go of the reins. So that's it for this week, my friends. Let me know if you decide to do something like this or if this resonates with you. I'd love to hear how you are bringing some of this into your own life. And if you'd like to go even further, in this month's leadership group coaching, we'll be covering how to reclaim our power, move into this energy of possibilities, and take topics like this one and apply them into our lives. So if you enjoy these kinds of topics, you can go to www.mayemsin.com/contact to learn more. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Own Your Best Life. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, can you please rate and review on iTunes? I would so appreciate it. Share it with a friend, take a screenshot of it, and tag @MayEmsin. This helps continue to get the word out. For more show notes and resources, check out www.mayemsin.com. You'll have all the links to everything you heard here today. Thanks so much for listening. It's time to own your best life.